Today, we're going to continue the topic of how bugs can help your brain function, part 2.
Welcome to the Restorative Longevity Podcast, where we share how to increase your quality of life while also increasing your longevity. Now let's welcome our host, Jimmy Yen, also known as the AccuSensei. Jimmy is a licensed acupuncturist, herbalist, nutritionist, and restorative longevity expert dedicated to guiding you on your journey to vibrant health and lasting wellness.
This is a continuation from last week's post, a previous post of part 1. And we talked about the microbiome in part 1 and how crucial the microbiome, which is your universe, your bug universe in your body, how it affects your health, how it affects your mental health, your brain function, and so forth. And so super important, in alignment with how I do these podcasts. The point of today's podcast is you need to eat more bugs to help with your brain function. Okay, that's the point of today's podcast. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. If you have enjoyed this content of me going step by step, slowly, one step at a time, so you can fully understand why people say, hey, your gut is super important, and your gut is your second brain, or some people say it's your first brain. Why it's so vital, right? And so here's the thing. In China, as a Chinese medicine practitioner, they knew this information 3,000 years ago, and unfortunately, developed societies and Western medicine societies, they disregard information that has lasted for 3,000 years, and they only look at information that has been proven by their associations, their research, and so forth. And that's a sad thing, because there's Chinese. I'm not saying Chinese medicine is the end all be all. There are other medicines, Ayurvedic medicines, that's been around for 3,000 years, and I'm pretty sure they have the same concepts. I haven't studied Ayurvedic medicine, so I don't know. This is my assumption, but I'm pretty sure they have the same concepts, that the gut controls the brain. And it's just now Western medicine, which has maybe 150 to 200 years history, just validating it through science, through research, that what was discovered 3,000 years ago is actually true. So I want to point out one thing. Misinformation. Everybody claims, there's so much. Social media allows people to comment on other people's information and say that some people are dispensing misinformation. I've been accused of that many times. I've been censored by YouTube, Google, Facebook, TikTok. I've been censored by it, and I understand that, because what I said is different from what who pays their bills, they're going to censor me, and there's no right or wrong about that. But for the public, the public does the exact same thing. Everybody's accusing people of passing misinformation and disinformation, and I'm talking about health, right? Here's the thing. Just because it hasn't had research does not make it right or wrong, right? So just because you read a research that you believe in does not give you the right to say someone else is wrong. Because here's the thing, I've mentioned this multiple times as a biochemist. I was a trained biochemist. I've done research, and I'm here to tell you it can be manipulated. So to put all your eggs in one basket and say that this research is what you believe in, and so anybody who says anything opposite is completely passing misinformation, that's not true. How do you know that the research that you believe in was not manipulated? And then some people may say, oh, because it was done by a credible university like Harvard Medical School. And I've shared before, in the 60s, Harvard Medical School manipulated their research. The brightest institutions in the US have manipulated their research. Why? Because of who paid for the research. Now, I'm not saying, Harvard Medical School is bad. No, I love their research. What I'm saying is, do not put all your eggs, put your foot on the ground and say that because you read this research, you believe in this research, that you are correct. And anybody that says anything different is incorrect. That is not the case, and that is not the truth. Nobody truly knows unless you have experienced it yourself. So unless you were the scientist in the lab and you had all full transparency, you know who was paying for the research. Unless you were in that lab, you don't really know. I don't even know. I don't really know right now, since I'm not doing research. I don't know if these research that I agree with are 100% correct. I don't know. And that's the point. Okay. So let's come back to this. I just want to, put that out there because I see a lot of people hiding behind social media and just, criticizing people when they may be wrong themselves. So today we're talking about bugs can help your brain. So let's get back to this. Microbiome, super important. 90% of your serotonin, which affects your mood in your brain, 90% of serotonin is not produced in your brain. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that affects your brain, but 90% of it is not produced in your brain. Guess where it's produced? In your gut, in your microbiome. That is the reason why thousands of years ago, they knew that your gut affects your brain function, okay? And so we're gonna dive a little more deeper in regards to how these bugs or bacteria that's living on our body. Remember, 90% of our cells are non-human. 90% of our cells on our body are non-human. They're foreign. We're aliens, okay? They're from bacteria, viruses, and all this stuff, okay? So research, again, I love research. Do I know that this research is 100% accurate? No, I don't, because I was not involved. I was not there doing the research. So I'm just sharing this information. This information may change in the future, okay? But this information actually is in alignment with what I've learned that has been from Chinese medicine 3,000 years ago, okay? Recent research revealed that alterations in the gut microbes, so you're changing your microbiome, your gut, that your good bacteria, bad bacteria, influences the risk of brain disorders such as autism, anxiety, depression, dementia. Okay, microbiome research. Here's an interesting fact. So I'm learning this from Lisa Mosconi, from the Associate Director Alzheimer's Prevention Clinic in a medical school in New York. So they're doing the research. Again, this is her opinion. This is what she said. She said that most microbiome research right now, so far, all these research that are doing about the microbiome, your gut, digestive system, and so forth, right? Including antibiotic research. So when pharmaceutical companies, they do research on antibiotics and so forth, or fecal transplants, most all these research are based on experiments using rodents, using rats, not humans, rats. So when you go and say, hey, this antibiotic, my doctor gave me this antibiotic because it's research backed. Well, chances are that research was only done on rodents. It wasn't done on humans. So how do they know? How do they test it on humans? How do they know if it works on humans? Guess what? It's something called a patient. You are being tested on. These are the facts, some of the facts that, the public doesn't know. So when it comes to, again, let me repeat, this is not for me. This is from the Weill Cornell Medical College in New York. Majority of research done on the microbiome in regards to the bacteria in our bodies are done on rodents. They're not done on humans. When they are done on humans, you are called a patient. So when you are a patient, you're given all these different types of antibiotics. You are the rodent. You are being tested on. You are the guinea pig, right? Some people like that. Some people don't like that. But you need to know the truth. The truth is you are being tested on the guinea pig, as a guinea pig, right? Now, historically, okay, she also mentioned historically research has been largely ignored by the Western neurology and psychiatry field. Even till today, she says medical students, maybe at this medical college in New York, medical students are taught that the brain is anatomically isolated and well guarded by the blood-brain barrier, and it keeps all pathogens, including bacteria, out, which her research has proven that's wrong. But that's what is being taught. That is what is being taught by medical school right now. Medical school is telling them your gut bacteria will never affect your brain. Okay, that's what they're taught in medical school. So when they come out, guess what they're going to tell you, right? So that's a whole nother thing I won't get into. But new studies have shown that our gut bacteria not only influence how we eat, but they influence how we feel and how we think. So like I said, how we feel, serotonin, 90% of your serotonin, which helps dictate how you feel. If you feel good, is produced, 90% of it's produced in your gut, not your brain. So again, it defies, the latest research is proving old research is incorrect, okay? Now, when it comes to anxiety and depression, who has anxiety and depression, right? For decades, here's the thing. Animals genetically engineered, these are called germ-free mice. Germ-free mice, have you heard of that term? Germ-free mice, here's what it means. It means these mice have been genetically engineered to have no bacteria, no microbiome. They have no microbiome, they're genetically engineered, okay? They have found, research has found that these type of mice, germ-free mice, have increased anxiety-like behaviors. They have exaggerated response to stress. They are antisocial, they exhibit memory problems, and they have reckless tendencies. What do these symptoms remind you of? Parents, what do these symptoms, so let me repeat that, anxiety, exaggerated stress response, they're antisocial, they have memory problems, they are reckless. What does it sound like, right? What does that sound like? Does it sound a little like autism, right? Now, scientists found that when they stabilize these germ-free mice, how do they stabilize them? By feeding them friendly bacteria. So these germ-free mice that have all these autistic symptoms, how did scientists solve them? How did they calm these mice down? They gave them bacteria to eat, okay? And this not only lowered their stress levels, but it also helped them increase another neurotransmitter called GABA. So remember, GABA is the neurotransmitter that helps calm the nervous system down. Calm the nervous system down, okay? Just by feeding bacteria, okay? So again, recent research is showing that bacteria helps with the nervous system. Bacteria helps with our brain function. So coming back to autism, neurodevelopment, okay? For decades, doctors and parents, you know, if you are a parent that has autistic kids, you've probably seen in their life 40 to 90% of autistic kids have GI symptoms. They have food allergies, they have digestive issues. So on a side note, if you have a kid that has autism, here's something that you can do to start helping improve that your kid's autism. Whether it's autism, whether it's ADHD, okay? Slapping a medication, it does not help your kid. It allows, and this is, I know this is a little confronting, okay? But this is the truth. Giving your kid medications, okay, for ADHD, you are not helping them. You're helping you because it's making your life easier, but you're not helping them. Their brain is deteriorating and getting worse as they're taking that medication. So what can you do if you have a kid that's autistic, or maybe you are ADHD? Feed your gut microbiome. Fix your gut microbiome. Balance the bacteria in your body. That's how you start to fix one of the problems. There's many problems, okay, when it comes to autism, many root causes when it comes to autism and ADHD. But one of the things you can do right now, and something doesn't require a pill, you can actually help start reversing and fixing the root cause instead of just masking it with a pill, is fix their gut. And I know kids, it's hard. It's hard to make them eat the right things. But you want them to suffer with autism and ADHD for the rest of their life? Or do you want to instill some hard discipline to make them eat the right things? Right? So this is what happened. These autistic, so they did research on these germ-free mice again, right, who exhibited symptoms like human autism. They treated this autistic mice with bacteria, and it improved their behavior. It made them less anxious. They were more communicative with other mice, and they were less prone to showing repetitive patterns just by feeding the bacteria. So how do you do that? You first, for your kids who are autistic or ADHD, you reduce any type of stimulants that makes it worse. So any type of allergies. So dairy, any type of dairy, you need to remove it. Dairy is triggering the autism and it's triggering the ADHD. It's upsetting their GI system. Okay, you want to stay away from sugar, processed sugar, not natural sugar that comes in fruits, processed sugar, any added sugar. You want to remove those. Those are excitatory. They make it worse. Don't believe me? Give your kids some sugar and see what happens. They bounce up and all around the room, right? You want to make sure to see if they're not allergic to peanuts, right? Peanuts. You want to make sure if they're allergic to nightshades. If they are allergic to nightshades, don't give them any nightshades. Gluten, right? You cannot, in my opinion, if you truly want to fix the root cause for your autistic kids or your ADHD, if you're ADHD, you cannot eat out. Again, some people are like, oh, how do I live life? It's your choice. You want to have ADHD or you want to eat out? Not eat it. I mean, it's your choice, right? You want to be strict with your diet or you want to have ADHD. So, got to get strict. You cannot eat out. It is impossible to eat healthy when you eat out. And even when you cook at home, you got to start from natural whole food ingredients. Last night we had a couple who was doing a fast from added sugar. And so we are preparing food for them based on, just making sure. And we're looking, even sauces, sugar and gluten are hidden in sauces. So we were looking at the labels. Hey, which sauce will we use? Does it have added sugar? And when you go to grocery shopping, even in Costco, whatever grocery store you go to, even Whole Foods, you have to read the label. Almost everything that tastes good has gluten and sugar in it. Many gluten-free products have sugar in it, added sugar into it. Those are inflammatory. Those are excitatory. They're going to make your kids' autism worse. They're going to make your ADHD worse, right? So you've got to read the labels. All right. So coming back to this, there was another research done with functional MRI. Functional MRI basically tracks the blood flow in your brain. This is pretty cool technology, right? So they did a functional MRI brain imaging, right? That measures the blood oxygen. It measures the blood oxygen levels in your brain. So it tells you which parts of your brain is more active when you do something. So they were testing it. Let's say the study was 25 healthy women. They were divided to two groups. One group was given probiotics, a cup of probiotic yogurt twice a day for 1 month. So one group, probiotic yogurt. So one probiotic yogurt twice a day for 1 month. The other group, no yogurt. This is what they found out. All participants were shown upsetting pictures of people with angry or sad or frightened facial expressions to gauge how they respond, how these participants respond, their emotional response, and then they were being monitored with a functional MRI. This is the results. Guess what the results showed? The yogurt eaters, the ones that added bacteria into their gut, they were able to remain calmer than those who were without probiotic supplementation, right? So the question is, why don't doctors, with people who have, anxiety or depression, why don't doctors prescribe yogurt or bacteria instead of Xanax? That's just a question, right? Now, again, I just, if you were paying attention, I just said, hey, dairy is not good for you. And then now this experiment is saying yogurt's from dairy, right? And so I did another podcast that talked about dairy, and some people with, who don't contain the enzyme lactase to break down lactose, which is an enzyme in milk, right? You can go watch that. But dairy in general, you want to stay away from. Don't use dairy as the way to get your probiotics. The best way to get your probiotics is actually through fermented foods. Okay, fermented foods. Fermented foods are the best way to get probiotics. If you can't get those, which everybody can, right? Then can you do the pills of probiotics? Yes, you can. And in the previous podcast, I told you how to dose that out. So check out my previous podcast. So we're going to continue. How does the microbiome, how does bacteria, the bugs on our body help us with our brain? Well, they actually improve our brain longevity. So you want to get smarter as you get older, right? Not just, just when you want to get wiser, but you keep on getting wiser. When people start getting to the 80s and 90s and 100-year-olds, people start thinking, oh, their brain starts to decline. No, it doesn't. It declines because of the habits that you do in your daily life. So bacteria plays a big role in that. Okay, here's another one. Over the course of a lifetime, they found that people who consume a diet high in fiber, so this is more for fiber, diet high in fiber and low in animal fat have healthiest microbiomes. So if you have a diet high in fiber, your bacteria will be more healthy. You will have more healthy bacteria than bad bacteria. Okay, remember, it's the balance of good bacteria to bad bacteria that controls your immune system in your whole body. The microbiome that they found whose diet were low in fiber but high in animal fat, so you're like doing the caveman diet, the Atkins diet, the carnivore diet, where you're eating a lot of animal fat, their microbiome tend to be very fragile and tend to easily collapse. And if you eat a diet high in animal protein, animal fat, you are prone to getting leaky gut syndrome. And if you want to know what leaky gut syndrome is, go to the previous part 1 of this series. Okay. Poor gut bacteria contributes. This is what they found. Poor gut bacteria contributes to cognitive decline observed in old age. Okay. Now, when it comes to dementia, they found that many viruses and bacteria can profoundly affect the brain. Profoundly, generating symptoms like confusion, brain fog, okay, memory loss, and this is what they've seen. The HIV virus that causes AIDS? They saw that the HIV virus actually causes a form of dementia. They call it HIV-related dementia, with symptoms that mimics those of Alzheimer's. This is just proof to say that, hey, viruses. Remember earlier in this podcast today, I said in medical school that they teach medical students that, oh, bacteria, viruses, they don't affect the brain. Okay, well, how come HIV virus, which is a virus, is causing dementia? That's affecting the brain. Okay, so again, next one, herpes simplex virus. The herpes simplex virus. Many people here in the US have this virus. Okay, what does this virus do? It causes like mouth sores. You have mouth sores, right? Maybe genital sores, right? They trigger brain inflammation. Okay, thus eliciting cognitive and mood disturbances. Again, another virus, which is very common here in the US, herpes virus, can affect your ability in your brain to think and your mood. Last one, syphilis. This is a bacteria infection. It's a STD, sexually transmitted disease. Syphilis, okay? If you sleep around a lot, you can probably get a little syphilis, right? This is transmitted through sexual intercourse. It can spread to the brain and lead to severe cognitive impairment. So again, proof that what's being taught in the medical school is incorrect, right? All right, so last one, MCI, mild cognitive impairment. So this was one of Dr. Lisa's patient that she saw. This is an example of how the microbiome affects the brain. So there was this patient, this woman at New York University, who, she was diagnosed with MCI, mild cognitive impairment. She had a family history of dementia, and she was terrified because she has a family history of dementia, losing their brains, and then she's getting diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. She's going crazy. She's like, oh, am I going to get dementia because I have a family history of it, right? Her mother died of it just a few years prior. So she went into the clinic, got all these blood tests done, and it was found after running several blood tests, the doctors found something unusual. This patient, she had a massive asymptomatic, which means she didn't feel it, urinary tract infection, UTI, massive. She had no symptoms, which is surprising, right? She reported no pain, no irritation, no discomfort at all. She didn't even know. So despite her blood, her urine, full of bacteria and full of blood cells. So obviously the doctors gave her antibiotics, right? Killed all the bacteria in her bladder. And it solved the problem. When the patient came back months later for an evaluation, she was diagnosed with normal cognition. So what is the point of this, me telling you this example? Her UTI was causing her brain going crazy. Mild cognitive impairment. A bacteria all the way, the bladder's really far. If the bladder is really far, right, from your brain. But guess what? That infection down there affected up here. It's just another proof how your microbiome in the rest of your body affects your brain function. So you need to get the bacteria balanced in your body if you want to be intelligent as you get older. You want to if you don't want to lose your memory, you don't want to lose, have anxiety, autism, you don't want to have depression, schizophrenia, you don't want any of that. You need to balance the bacteria in your body, because it absolutely, I've mentioned 4 cases that it absolutely affects your brain function. So hey, if your physician is telling you otherwise, it's what you believe, okay? I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying they're wrong. It's what you believe and what you want. If you want to be like the people in the blue zone, excuse me, that are living past 100 years old, but they have a higher quality of life, and they have they don't lose their brain, they don't lose their mind, they're actually smarter, they're more intelligent, right? Higher quality of life than 40 and 50-year-olds here in the US. You got to choose what you want to do, right? What type of life you want to live. All right, guys, hopefully this was beneficial for you. Let me know, right? Bugs absolutely can help your brain. And we'll continue this with another podcast. I also forgot, here in the US, we had daylight savings time. Hopefully y'all changed the clock and y'all joined in. But I appreciate you for tuning in, and I appreciate you listening in, and just, here's the thing. I'm not right. I'm not wrong. Nobody will know until you actually implement some of the strategies that I go through in every one of these podcasts, okay? I like application, so hopefully I give you some application that you can start doing to change your life, or change your family's life, or change your friends, community. That's the point of these podcasts. You taking back control of your own life, of your families, helping your family take back control of their life so that they are not dependent upon another pill to get by the next day. All right, guys. Peace. See you next week. Same time, Sunday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. See you then.
This episode is sponsored by Achieve Integrative Health, the #1 acupuncture clinic in the US. We're grateful for their support in helping us bring you the Restorative Longevity podcast.